Thursday, March 8th. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Budget debate begins today. Minister of Finance and Public Service Audley Shaw will give details on how the 2018-2019 budget will be financed when he opens the budget debate this afternoon. The government intends to spend a little over $773 billion during the fiscal year, which begins on April 1. Mr. Shaw, in January, stated that no new taxes will be included in the new budget. He said revenue inflows have been doing fairly well this financial year, and with this trajectory, it is not the government's plan to introduce a new tax package. Mr. Shaw said the government will focus on implementing non-tax initiatives to ensure that importers, in particular, pay their fair share at the wharves. He disclosed that the Jamaica Customs Agency has been instructed to acquire state-of-the-art X-ray equipment to enable it to scan all incoming containers. More patients are to be relocated from the Cornwall Regional Hospital in St. James as the government works to complete a $2 billion restoration project at the facility. Minister of Health, Dr. Christopher Tufton, addressing a press briefing on Tuesday at the Office of the Prime Minister, said that the relocation of more patients from the hospital has become necessary in order to allow for additional time to deal with other problems that have arisen. He said that facilities at the Falmouth Hospital in Trelawney have been expanded to take in additional patients, and discussions are being held with other medical centers. In addition, an operating theatre will be set up at the neighboring Mount Salem Health Center by the first week of April, and additional bed space provided. Opposition spokesperson on health, Dr. Dayton Campbell, is questioning the government's spending of almost $800 million to address issues at the Cornwall Regional Hospital. Refurbishing at the hospital began over a year ago to address what staff had referred to as noxious fumes. Addressing members of the media on Tuesday following a tour of the hospital, Dr. Campbell said the government should, in the name of transparency, disclose the hospital's work plan along with the budget for the repairs. Today, Thursday, March 8, Jamaica joins our global neighbors to celebrate International Women's Day under the national theme, Empowering Women and Girls in Science, Technology and Business. The Bureau of Gender Affairs, Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, in partnership with the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, will host a symposium and concert at the National Indoor Sports Center as the banner International Women's Day event. The Bureau's Nadia McLaren tells us more.
The celebration will begin with a symposium that commences at 10 under the theme Empower Women and Girls in Science, Technology and Business. We're doing this because data has shown that there is a lag in the number of women and girls in science, energy and business under the STEM fields. So we are doing this to improve the number of women and girls in STEM and also in business. This symposium will have experts in the field who will share their stories, testimonials on the hurdles that they've overcome and why do we need an improved number of women in the STEM fields and in business.
The United Nations is leading by example. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says empowering women is key to gender equality because we live in a world that is male-dominated. He made his point in his message for International Women's Day 2018, which is being observed today.
We live in a male-dominated world with a male-dominated culture. And this is true in governments, public administrations, the private sector, but also in international organizations like the UN. And so the central question for gender equality is a question of power. And that is why the empowerment of women is our most important objective. To make that empowerment reality in the United Nations, I made parity our central reform objective. We have already reached parity in the senior management group, the top level of the administration of the UN, and we'll soon reach it at the level of the country leaders of the UN. But our aim is to have parity across the board in the whole of the United Nations, and this will be a key instrument for us to be able to fight sexual exploitation and abuse with zero tolerance, to fight sexual harassment, and to make sure that we create an organization in which women and men can work together in full equality and contribute to a world in which women and men can also be in full equality.
President of the Mount Salem Community Development Committee in St. James, Winsome Barnes, has lauded the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF, and other participating agencies for the effective implementation of social intervention initiatives that are already bearing fruit.
And we have been working with JSIF for 6 months now, and it has been good. And for one, we started with the community cleanup.
In terms of the physical environment, she outlined that strategies are focused on sanitation, solid waste removal, utility regularization, bushing, and improving road conditions.
And we went through the community and we did over 24 loads of garbage throughout the community. We went, we got trained. There were 20 persons who were trained as curfew monitors within the community. And this is an ongoing process because we saw that the 20 persons, with the white space of the community, 20 persons were not enough. But so there will be further training by SSP McGregor and his team. And we had 2 community service fairs, and these were huge events. And you saw a lot of persons coming out, and they made use of all the services that were provided. You had RGD, you had health, you had dental. On the last one, we had the exchange of clothing and other school first things, and the community really came out and supported.
Mount Salem was declared the first zone of special operations on September 1 last year under the Law Reform Zones of Special Operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures Act 2017, which gives the security forces certain essential powers required to address serious crimes while upholding the rule of law and protecting citizens' fundamental rights and freedoms. The legislation, which was passed by the House of Representatives and Senate, will also facilitate the implementation of key social interventions in communities adversely affected by crime and violence. Correctional officers have joined other public sector workers in rejecting the government's revised offer of a 16% wage increase over 4 years. Arlington Turner, chairman of the Jamaica Federation of Corrections, said the group met with delegates on Tuesday to discuss the proposal. He outlined that the members are not pleased with the idea of a 4-year contract period and would prefer to continue with 2-year contracts, which are currently being used. Mr. Turner said the revised wage offer was unanimously rejected by members of the Federation. The Federation said it will inform the Finance Ministry of the development with a view to continuing negotiations in good faith. In regional news, Grenada Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell has refused claims that the ruling New National Party has lost the support of the country. He was speaking on Tuesday at one of the final press conferences ahead of the polls.
I believe we have succeeded in getting the support of all classes in this country, majority of people. When I speak like I speak, I mean majority, because clearly in every group you have supporters of the opposition, and so, because we live in a democracy. So we say the classes, we see the poor class of people in our country, the marginalized, we see them in their majority way behind our party. We see the middle class voters right there. And strange enough, probably the highest amount of upper middle class and above business type persons that I've ever seen in my political life support the NNP. It has been this campaign. We have not seen any hostility from religious groups in the country. I couldn't say this about 2008. I could not say this. If anything, I would have said we saw very clear, strong opposition coming from religious groups.
In sports, athletes seeking to transfer allegiance will have a minimum waiting period of 3 years before they are able to change nationalities. According to Nationwide News, the provision is among several new measures agreed by the Executive Council of the IAAF with regards to the transfers of allegiance in athletics. The agreement was reached during a council meeting of the sports governing body in Birmingham, England on Tuesday. In addition to the minimum 3-year waiting period, the review panel is to be established that will determine the credibility of applications. There also has to be evidence that countries are offering full citizenship and associated rights. A provision will also be put in place that an athlete can only transfer allegiance once in his or her career, that no transfers can take place before an athlete reaches the age of 20. And that's the news. Do stay with us. The weather report is next. This is PBCJ's weather report. Thanks so much for staying with us. Let's start as usual with our local currents. There is a trough across Jamaica. The trough is expected to remain across Jamaica until Friday. But what exactly is a trough? It is an extended region of relatively low atmospheric pressure, often associated with fronts. Let's take a look at what's happening across the island. In our forecast for today, as expected because of the trough, we could be getting scattered showers across most parishes. We're also seeing a temperature forecast between 26 and 29 degrees Celsius. Let's take a look at what exactly is happening in Kingston this afternoon. We're expecting cloudy conditions, but we could get some rainfall this evening. We're expecting the sun to set at 6:33 p.m. and we're expecting that the temperature goes down to a low of 22 degrees Celsius. Over there in Montego Bay, St. James, this afternoon, you can expect scattered showers in most areas leading into this evening. We're also expecting temperatures between 19 and 26 degrees Celsius for that parish. In our forecast for tomorrow, we're expecting temperatures between 26 and 30 degrees Celsius. We're also expecting scattered showers across most parishes. Let's take a look at what could be happening across the region today. We're expecting temperatures between 22 and 28 degrees Celsius. We're also expecting rainfall in the western end of the region, cloudy conditions in the eastern and central parts. In our forecast for tomorrow, though, we're expecting temperatures between 22 and 30 degrees Celsius. We're seeing a rainfall forecast for Santo Domingo, cloudy conditions forecast for Antigua and Nassau, Bahamas. Sunny skies forecast for Havana, though. And in our travel planner, we're looking to the United States, where we're seeing minimum temperatures -1 degree in Atlanta with a high 13 degrees Celsius, but we're seeing a forecast of sunny skies for that area. We're looking at Los Angeles right now, minimum temperature 11 degrees Celsius with a high 23 degrees Celsius forecast. We're seeing cloudy conditions forecast for Miami and New York as well. And that's it for the weather report. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.